everyone who would be watching this broadcast on YouTube, and welcome to the Ask the Travel Experts webinar brought to you by Corporate Traveler India. Corporate Traveler India's brand statement is bring an expert on board. And therefore, true to that, we have today with us a panel of experts, industry leaders from aviation, hospitality, travel insurance, and ground mobility, who are here just to answer your questions. Clear answers, no mincing of words, no crystal ball gazing, but clear answers the way you would like to have them. My name is Pukhraj, and I would be moderating this conversation in such a way that you get your answers the way you want them. The format of this webinar is slightly different, unlike many other webinars that all of us have attended, out of which we come out and we feel more confused and obfuscated. Here we're going to talk about only concise and clear answers. Thanks everyone who registered for this webinar and posted some wonderful questions for us to take up with the panelists here. We would be taking them on with the panelists on behalf of everyone who would be watching this broadcast finally. But before we commence our Q&A session, I would first like to welcome our esteemed panelists and give you a brief introduction of these distinguished gentlemen that we have on the panel today. We have Ankur Garg. He is the Chief Commercial Officer for AirAsia. Ankur is an IIT and an IIM alumni. In his career, he's worked with Indigo, KPMG, HCL at leadership positions. An interesting personal tidbit about Ankur is that he loves Urdu poetry. Welcome, Ankur. And I hope that along with the straight answers, we also get to hear some Urdu poetry from you, which befits the situation.
Thank you, Pukhraj, and good afternoon, everyone. Glad to be here.
Perfect. So representing the hospitality industry, we have Manish Tolani, Vice President Commercial for Hilton India. A graduate from IHM Aurangabad, Manish also has a degree in hospitality management from Huddersfield, UK. He has hands-on experience in sales and marketing, in operations, and also in revenue management, having worked with prestigious organizations like Marriott, ITC, and Oberoi's, besides Hilton, where he has spent his last few years. Manish is extremely fond of gardening, and he's a voracious reader, as he likes to call himself. Manish, and we would be asking you, what are you reading nowadays? But I'll tell you what we have all been reading nowadays. We've been reading our prayers so that things become normal very, very soon. Welcome on board and looking forward to interacting with you.
Thank you, Pukhraj.
From the travel insurance domain, we have Dev Karvat, founder and CEO, Emerging Markets for Travel Tech Kabamo, one of the leading travel insurance providers in the world and in India. Dev started his association with the travel insurance industry in 1999, and the rest, as they say, is history. He now sits at the helm of an organization which enjoys the largest share of travel insurance business in India. Dev is completely into fitness, and I heard of late he's been trying to reignite his passion for cooking many meals for his children and his wife. Well, he never shared the feedback with me, and we cannot put that at a test right now, but we do have some tough questions for you in this webinar, Dev. Looking forward.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Pukhraj.
Excellent. So representing the ground mobility industry, we have Aditya Lumba. He is the Joint Managing Director for Eco Rent a Car. Along with his brother Rajesh, Aditya has played a big role in converting this legacy car rental business into a business which is professionally run and also an award-winning organization, having won multiple awards over the last few years. Eco also recently secured a partnership with Europcar, one of the largest car rental companies in the world, and they have a strategic partnership with them wherein they represent Europcar here in India and vice versa. Aditya loves traveling and outdoor activities, and his motto for life is live each moment. That's the only truth. So welcome, Aditya, and we hope that you answer all the questions in the moment without bothering too much about what the consequences would be tomorrow.
Thank you, Pukhraj. Looking forward to it.
Perfect. So last but not the least, to talk about the TMC's perspective, We have with us Anuj Razdan. He is the brand leader for Corporate Traveler India. With a career spanning more than 22 years in the travel trade, Anuj has hands-on experience in operations, key account management, visas and revenue management. He was instrumental in launching and growing corporate traveler business in India to the scale that it is right now. We, he is known in the industry for his candidness and for his knowledge. Anuj, welcome, and we expect crystal clear and frank answers from you in this webinar.
Thank you, Coach. Thanks for the lovely introduction. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay, so here we are, gentlemen and ladies. Let's begin. To start with, I would like to invite all the panelists for opening remarks on the current situation. While domestic flights have resumed in a phased fashion over the last few days, I'm sure a lot of our audience are still worried about what the future is going to be. Is this start going to last? Is it all the way up from here? Or can we receive another setback over the next few years, few months to go on? So I would like to start and take opening remarks from all of you, starting with probably Ankur, because I think domestic aviation has been in the news quite a bit over the last few days, and not all for good reasons. So Ankur, over to you.
Thanks, Pukhraj. And so I think, first of all, it's very encouraging that at least starting this week, the domestic air travel started opening back up again after almost 60 days of hibernation. And, not only Indian aviation, but I think globally aviation industry had never seen this kind of a long drawn hibernation. Also, I think I must congratulate and compliment the role played by every stakeholder, be it Ministry of Civil Aviation, DGCA, airports, ground handling agencies, in making this possible. When we're reopening, there is a lot of fear, anxiety amongst travelers, whether they can travel back or not, and whether it is safe to travel. And if you look at the various health SOP that has been put into place with help of the ministry and the regulator and airports and airlines, I think now travelers are finding it very safe to travel. Yes, the capacity has started opening back gradually. So right now, in most routes, it is 1/3 of your usual capacity that has been allowed to operate. And in certain states with high risk, it's even lower. But at least a start has happened. And from here, I only see capacity going up. We have started on 25th. We are on 4th day of operation so far. And if you've seen last 4 days, the Indian aviation industry on the domestic side has largely seen most of the positive news. Yes, there have been cancellations, etc. But as I think all our travelers as well as travel agencies and partners understand, I think it is important that as we reopen, we don't rush into it. We open gradually. We fix anything which we find is broken or is not working perfectly before we open the whole entire capacity back up. So all in all, I think it's if we had done this webinar 2 weeks back, I think I wouldn't have sounded that encouraging. But I think today, standing today, I think I'm far more positive about what the future looks like.
Thank you, Ankur. And we are all encouraged, believe you me. Okay, moving on to the hospitality industry's perspective on this. Manish, where are you right now? Domestic flights have started. What is your outlook on business at this point in time?
So a couple of things, right? On the back of what Ankur just mentioned, needless to say, none of us who are on the panel right now and the audience have seen times like these before. I personally lived through 2001, 2008, 2611 when it did happen. And there was never a time when the revenues were zero. And most of us who are on the panel right now, we've seen zero revenues for the first time ever for a really long time. But we've had learnings from all the past, occasions of whatever's happened. For example, the way you check into the airport completely changed after 9/11. The way security protocols are handled in hotels, the way you welcome a guest completely changed after 26/11. So I do believe that there are clear learnings from this because we still haven't emerged out of the virus. But then one thing that I can understand, or at least the industry can understand, is that 70% of the global population will get impacted by the virus. So we have a choice of either living in the cave or coming out with caution, confidence in some condition, and rebuilding life and starting to travel and conducting business because there is no other option. And that's the way hotels are looking at it right now. At least we are at this stage. The second part, which is critically important, is again to the point that Ankur was making, learning. So we're reassuring people and looking at partners who we can partner with at this stage, who can come out there and say, we're ready for you because we focus enough on safety, hygiene, and you are in the front and center of us conducting business. That's point number two from my end. The third is value creation. I think all of us have a key responsibility here of creating value, because post-COVID, there is also post-economy of whatever's happening around here, and we can't walk away from the fact. And all of us on the panel will have a direct impact very, very quickly, or are directly impacted by these scenarios. We can't walk away from it. So partnerships will be more important than they've ever been before, I feel. So we got to lean on each other while we create value, and somehow that needs to reach the consumer. And that's critically important. And lastly, all of what we've just mentioned, I think needs to be built on customer sentiment. What is the consumer looking for? And the reality is that there is some anxiousness, there is some fear around infections. And they're telling us clearly, right, we'd like to partner with partners who are focused on safety and hygiene, who are doing something for the community right now, not just sitting in isolation and thinking of their own business, and stay flexible to get the business traveler's business, which means, can I book right now, cancel it, amend my bookings, and so on and so forth. If that sort of comfort is provided in one way or the other, that's what makes a difference between organizations that will weather the storm or wither away with the storm, I feel.
Excellent. That's a good point, Manish. And I think all of us are looking at that piece of the jigsaw, which will actually put everything together closely. Okay, moving on to the travel insurance perspective of this. Dave, where do you find yourself at this point of time? Are your products relevant to the current situation? Has your industry been hit badly? Where are you right now, and what do you see is the outlook for the coming months for travel insurance? Over to you.
Thanks, Pokraj. I think like Manish just mentioned, we for the first time in our history, we've not even seen zero sale, but actually negative sales, right? And we have never seen that before. So it's definitely a new world. There are some testing times for us. But if you look at over the last 5, 7, 10 years of our growth in the travel industry has primarily come from there are these youngsters who want to invest in an experience such as travel rather than going and buying material things, right? There are these, you have this middle class, upper middle class people who want to, there's aspiration to travel now, right? And see the world. And we also have the senior citizens, that is people who are above 60 and 65, who have saved all their life for the children. And, the children are now settled. They are saying, you need to go out and see the world, and we want you to experience what the world is all about. So the growth has come from, all these places over the last decade. And the way that I see it as, we are just seeing a pause in this growth. So there are challenging times. There is a pause. Is this going to stop? I don't think so. I think we've just scratched the surface. The kind of population that we have in India, I don't think the people who have experienced the international travel is only in single digits. So the next 5, 10, 20 years, we will see travel beyond this post. As the leaders in the travel assistance and insurance space, we've taken the responsibility to make sure that we introduce relevant products for the customer, for our partners, where it's not only just talking about what's the sum insured, etc., but in case if somebody is stuck or in a situation which needs the right assistance and they need to be brought back home safe, I think that's what we are focusing on currently, and reach out to as many people as we can.
Good to know that, Dave, that you are invested in customers and duty of care. I think that's what a long-term strategy for any organization should be. Excellent. So moving on to ground mobility. Actually, I should have asked this question when we these opening remarks from everyone. I think I should have started from Aditya, because to get to the airport, you need a car. You need car rentals. So Aditya, how are you guys doing at this point of time? Obviously, with the start of domestic airlines and domestic traffic now, are you getting a lot of queries? Where are you in terms of business at this point of time?
Yeah, there are about 1.7 million commercial vehicles in India. and these constitute all types of cars, buses, etc., which are run by for passenger transportation. And the lockdown and the pandemic has really affected the entire industry and hit it very, very hard. 1.7 million cabs means 1.7 million drivers as well, right? And their families as well. So the pandemic has obviously affected a lot of people in terms of economically and in their livelihood. Uh, as of now, in the last couple of months, the ground transportation was still considered as an essential service. So it still played a key role in the movement of goods and people who were the frontline workers who are still traveling and who are still going there to do the essential jobs. So that part of the movement was obviously handled by the transport industry, whether they were doctors, whether they were uh, IT professionals, whether they were finance professionals, whether they were security forces, people who had to be traveling from one place to the other and were basically supported by the ground transport industry. Now that the lockdown has opened up and people are now going to the airports, uh, of course, because of the limited flights, because of the limited number of passengers, that business is it's there. It's obviously the demand. We have seen an uptake in the demand over the last 1 week or last about 1 week or whenever the flight started from I think 25th of May. So the airport transfers have started picking up. Uh, and we hope that this stays, the momentum stays, and gradually the business picks up again. Um, During the lockdown period, there was some essential other services that the transport industry supported in. It was particularly the evacuation of the foreign nationals who were in India, who were stuck in different parts of the country. So the ground transportation industry over there, they supported in picking them up from various different parts of the country and bringing them back to the main airports where their special flights were waiting for them to take them back home. So the drivers and they have really played a great role, nothing less than a frontline warrior to be able to make the people reach back their homes and supporting them in this time of crisis. So now we have seen an uptake in the airport transfers, and I hope that with the other safety and every all precautions in place, travelers will be more confident to travel.
Excellent. And I do hope that your understanding of the situation is accurate, because that's what we're all looking for, right? Okay, so to bring in the TMC's perspective in this conversation, Anuj, you are essentially representing an organization which would stitch all these services together for the customer. Where do you find yourself in these tough times? Obviously, your business depends on your partners getting into business, and you have to represent them to a lot of customers. I'm sure you have a large database of customers here in India. How has it been for you till now? How have you been surviving this? And obviously, what do you think going on forward from here is the right course for you?
So, Pukraj, I would consent with all the comments that we have heard so far. Just like Manish, we had also seen negative TTVs in the last couple of months. We have seen zero revenues in the last couple of months. But I think we were the ones who were able to identify uh, or forecast the impact of COVID quite early compared to a lot of our competition. And we started taking measures around our people side, our customer side, on the cash preservation. So all those actions we started taking pretty early. So we worked on our customers. We made sure that they are well informed. They are, because information is the key right now. With the amount of changes that are happening, information plays a very, very vital role. And if you're not able to give right information to our customers at the right time, then the whole purpose of our existence gets dissolved. So how we look at it is our job is to provide solutions to our customers, and that's one of our biggest objective, and that's what really matters to us. So in terms of uh, our strategy on the survival front, I think we were early to take some cost corrective actions. We worked on our human capital side. We let our people work from home. We started working on preserving cash. We looked at our cost side, not only on one aspect, but I think overall aspect of the cost. We really looked at that. And communication has been the key, and communication not only on one side of our business, but I think on all three sides, be it our people, be it our customers, be it our partners, and that has been the key for us. We have been very frequently communicating to our people. We are communicating very frequently to our customers, and the same goes for our partners as well. And I think that is one of the keys that has been instrumental in keeping us relevant in these difficult times.
Interesting. Yeah, obviously a lot of things are happening, and a customer cannot be expected to reach out to all industries to find out what is happening and keep abreast of happenings. I think an interesting role that you're playing to help customers keep abreast of the region.
So just like you said, our role is to stitch all these services together for our customer, and that's what we do. We have been. We are very glad that the operations have started. We are seeing some transactions happening, and that's a very positive sign. And we are tracking each of our customer from start to end, and we are taking feedbacks in terms of their experience from where they started till where they reached. Very frequently circulating it within our teams so that that right information on ground, correct, 100% accurate information reaches back to our customer. That's the whole objective.
Excellent. Okay. Thank you everyone for your opening remarks, and good to know that we have optimism as something that we share across everyone on the panel. My next question, and this one is from some of the audience who had put it up while registering, and this one is for Manish regarding hospitality. Typically, five-star hotels are known for their high-touch service. The way they differentiate is because they offer highly personalized services. People would be very courteous. You'll have more people at your service whenever you would require them. But with this recent development on COVID-19, it makes it almost impossible to provide personalized services. In fact, you would go the impersonal way. You would like to keep away from people. So how are you going to manage this at Hilton, Manish? What's your strategy to handle this?
So, the deal is we've spent about of our time to figure to the question that you asked, right? What would the consumer want? The meaning of luxury, the meaning of business travel, the meaning of leisure travel will transition, at least in the short to mid term, before it starts coming back in again. And we've seen that, right? As far as we are concerned, we call this low touch point, high impact sort of a strategy. Because end of the day, a person's still looking for experience. Experience could be whatever, essentially, right? We want to make sure whatever be the objective of the consumer, that is catered to. So if there is some amount of anxiety and fear in the short term, we have got a plethora of programs as far as contactless, for example, dining is concerned, is one big example, right? When you enter our hotels, once the hotels do start opening up and when people start traveling, there will be an option for all of our consumers to go through, starting from the valet service, right? Getting into a contactless experience. Your menus will be through a QR code, for example. These are options available. Now, I do feel that not everyone's looking for this, right? Some of them will be happy with just sanitizing menus and getting the menu cards in their hands because that's what dine-in experience is about. They want to engage with the consumer. As far as we are concerned, we will have masks in. We've spent the last 8 weeks putting these training protocols in place, trained our people, and also help them hear from a consumer directly to make them understand what they're looking for. It is not a one-way communication where we're saying, we know the virus situation completely. We know what the consumer understands and expects. And here you go, this is a new training protocol. It won't work that way. So we've done that. The second big thing that we've launched is the Hilton Clean Stay, which is what I think a fair amount of social handles are carrying right now. And we've got significant amount of response from people. The Hilton seal, the door seal has become like this symbol right now of talking about how cleanliness will change, right? So as far as we are concerned, we've launched that. A Hilton Clean Seal really means that before a consumer enters the room, you know you're the first one to enter after the room has been cleaned. We've partnered with RB, which is the manufacturers of Lysol and Dettol. Dettol is more understood in our world right now, and Mayo Clinics. One, in terms of understanding protocols, this is hospital level cleaning essentially of different kind of surfaces. So we put these things in place, right? But I do go back to the same: what does the consumer want? How much of this does the consumer want in India to start with, right? Because the reality is that people will drive before they fly. Domestic travel will emerge before international travel will emerge. Weddings will start before MICE will start. That's our understanding. So we've broken our protocol down into these different segments because, to your point, different consumers are looking for different things, and we realize that.
Interesting. And while you answered me, Manish, you went into how the customer experience changes. And it's very important for us to understand how the customer experience changes, because while the policies will be made at the corporate level by organizations, but it will be the people who will actually do the traveling, and their experience is something that we need to sort. So I will take a cue from your answer and I will ask Ankur a question. Customer experience. Well, Ankur, over the last few days, the customer experience has been very, very bad. We've been watching it all over the news. How is it going to improve? If we have to have more people taking flights domestically, what do you think we need to do?
Right. So I think let's break it into two parts. One is consumer experience, when you say has not been great, I think largely it has not been great with respect to flights getting cancelled. And if you look at it, the flights getting cancelled is because of, as I explained, because of the health protocols of different states, the capacity guideline that has been put in by government, and rightly so, because we need to start very cautiously. That I think is a temporary phenomena. And as we start reopening more routes, I think that part or that concern of the customer is going to get addressed. Coming to your other part, which is about saying, once people who have flown, how has their experience been? I think on that front, actually so far, we are finding more people complimenting, saying at least they are able to get reunited to your families. They didn't find it unsafe or risky to travel. If you look at the protocol that has been put in place by all the stakeholders, right? So there's no more a check-in at the counter. You're supposed to web check-in on your mobile, print your boarding pass, show that. Even when you're entering at the airport gate, you don't come into close contact with the CISF personnel. There is a shield, etc. There's a magnifying glass where you put your ID and they can see it from a distance. Baggage, we've put together a process where we don't even paste the baggage stub on the back of your boarding card. You check in the baggage, you drop the baggage, and you get an SMS saying you have checked in your baggage. This is your baggage ID, etc. When you're boarding, again, before you board, you're getting given a safety kit, which has a mask, which has sanitizer, which has a visor or a face shield, again, to make you feel safe. On board, temporarily, yes, all airlines have suspended in-flight food and beverage service, and again, rightly so, to minimize the possibility of touch or contact. But there is water available where a passenger can walk up to the galley, pick up the glass of water, and throw away the glass. Also, I mean, in case of people with health conditions, etc., if they need any help in terms of juices, cookies, biscuits, etc., of course, that's available there. And similarly, then when you get off, again, there is, before you board, again, there's a thermal screening. So, you're trying to make sure that, people with any symptoms are not on board and hence don't pose risk to others. So as far as that experience is concerned, we are very encouraged that passengers are on one hand feeling safe, and on the other hand are also are able to appreciate, with some additional hassles that they may have to go through, or they may not be able to get the same level of service. What Manish was talking about earlier, saying that yes, the same kind of a personalized attention or service that you would get. I would rather put it this way. Look, I think whether hospitality or aviation or ground transportation, we are all in the end customer centric. In the previous scheme of things, the being customer centricity and what the customer wanted was a far more high touch service. Today, you're still being customer centric by actually trying to do things which make a customer feel safe, because that's what customer is looking for. In this environment, if you try to be, a high touch in the traditional form, I don't think so you're being customer centric in my view. And customer would not really appreciate that part. So I think we are all trying to do our bit in terms of, again, catering to what customer needs at this moment. And I'm quite glad to see that majority of the players have been quick to reorient their business model, their operating models, SOPs to take care of this new emerging or new requirement of the customer service.
Interesting. So I think the new definition of personalization would be to respect the safety and the distance that every customer requires for travel. Interesting perspective on that, Ankur. So we had a question which kind of links to your answer, Ankur, and I'm going to post that to Aditya to try and answer. Aditya, on the car rentals front, what are some of the things that you're doing to make sure that customers feel safe? They feel that they have a very little chance of contacting the contagion. And also, do you think that qualitative services now have an edge over aggregators? Over to you, Aditya.
Yeah, thanks, Pukhraj, and great insights from Manish and Ankur. Absolutely, being customer centric is the heart of our organizations, and it's important to understand the situation which we are in right now and the problem that we are trying to deal with here. So, of course, the entire world is in it, and there are some proven guidelines which have been released by the governments. And those guidelines are pretty much something which every organization needs to follow. Uh, Now, those are the guidelines which are like social distancing, which are basically making sure that you are asymptomatic, making sure that you are able to maintain your personal hygiene, etc., etc. And how you are going to adapt those guidelines into our own organizations so that the total end-to-end experience for the passenger is as safe as possible is what the goal is. So towards this direction, as a ground mobility company, we realized that it requires a multi-dimensional approach. So what we have actually come up with is a 3C strategy, which is basically the car, the chauffeur, and the company, which is the community. So we have implemented protocols and SOPs to each of these three categories. And how we are doing it is now, first of all, the car itself, the sanitization of the car needs to be done after every ride. So we have already equipped our chauffeurs with the tools as well as the training to be able to sanitize the cars after every ride. Uh, and when we talk about the car, we're talking about the exterior as well as the interior, the door handles, the window buttons, the handbrake, the armrest area, the headrest area. Apart from that, we have removed certain amenities which we were having, like newspapers, magazines, uh, paper tissues. We've removed them from the car because we want as little contact as possible while the passenger is in the car. We have also introduced these plastic sheets which are dividers between the driver area as well as the passenger area, so that if somebody is sneezing or somebody is coughing, the particulate matter is not able to reach out into the other area. Uh, we have issued some FAQs to all our passengers, whether it's about the use of air conditioning in the car. So we are advising them not to use the AC in the car and keeping all the four windows slightly down so that air can just circulate and it can just pass through. In terms of the chauffeur, we've really invested a lot of time in connecting with them and training them on just the problem of COVID-19, and explaining to them and educating them what this is and what the possible solution related to their jobs, what the do's and don'ts are. So we've actually used communication technology really well in this case. Like 80% of our chauffeurs are now already on Zoom and Skype. So we are actually conducting our trainings with them on Zoom and Skype, uh, and actually making them go through each and every process and making them go through each and every protocol repeatedly so that it sinks into them. Uh, so of course, for them, it is mandatory to wear masks and gloves while they are driving. Absolutely maintain zero contact, so no handshakes with the customers, maintaining a social distance of 6 feet with the customers while they are even meeting the customers, making sure that they are opening the door for them and they are closing the door for them so that there's minimum contact for the passenger with the door for the car itself. When it comes to the passenger's luggage, requesting the passenger to carry his own luggage and put it in the luggage compartment. So opening the luggage compartment and closing the luggage compartment for him without touching their luggage. Only in case they ask them to touch it, then he has to pick it up, and then he has to first sanitize his hands, and then he has to put the luggage in, and then he has to sanitize his hands again. Those are the kind of various training protocols from the chauffeur's point of view that we have actually put in place. Third is the technology. So to make it as contactless as possible. So what we have done is earlier the chauffeur, because we are more into the enterprise business. So we have a lot of customers with whom we have a running account. So it's like credit account. They just sign off on the driver's app, and then they leave, and it's later billed to their enterprise. It's later billed to their company. So what we have done is instead of the signing off process, we have eliminated that and we have replaced it with an OTP process. So a system generated OTP will be going into the passenger's mobile, and he just needs to tell the OTP number at the time of releasing the car and chauffeur, and the same OTP will be reflecting in the invoice once it is submitted to the organization for clearing. So these are some of the technology enhancements we have done to reduce, minimize the touch, and therefore mitigate the risks of anybody trying to get the disease transmitted. At the company level, we are following all the guidelines which are being basically issued by various organizations like FICCI or by WHO, who are right now basically telling how to maintain social distancing in the office, how to use the various gadgets and tools, auto sanitizers and stuff like that, which basically make the environment much more safer. Of course, everybody who will be entering into our office premises will be required to go through a thermal temperature screening before they enter. And also another technology enhancement we have done for the chauffeurs is that every time as part of our quality control check, and this is a very, very important SOP, I believe, which we have done, which will definitely give us an edge in the market as well, is that we have three pictures that we are asking from the chauffeur at the time of assigning any ride to them, any new ride to them. The first picture shows that he's got the mask and he's got the gloves with him. The second picture shows that he's got the cleaning material, the disinfectant, and the spray bottle and the microfiber cloth with him that he is you're going to be using. And the third is a mercury-based thermometer in which he has to show that he doesn't have temperature running. So these are the three pictures which will be real-time captured by the driver, uploaded on the app, which will be real-time checked by our dispatch team, which will also show the date and time when the picture was taken automatically through the system, and only then the chauffeur will be assigned the ride, so that we know that he is actually going to be following these protocols on a real-time basis every day for every ride. So these are the things we have done.
Yeah. So Aditya, good. I think very comprehensive list of things that you're doing at an organization level, and obviously to impact customer experience. Much appreciated. I'm sure people would love to pay a small premium for their safety rather than taking services which are substandard and which put their safety at risk. So I think all the best to you as far as that is concerned. So going on to Dev, as you said, business is negative at this point of time. You can hardly expect to do any business, issue policies, because everything is gone for a toss. Looking at how this pandemic has changed the equation for everyone. But where from now? What do you guys do? Do you guys come up with pragmatic solutions, something which is more pertinent to the current situation for customers? Because obviously there is a risk involved at this point of time. I think there is more risk involved at this point of time that than I have ever seen in my career. So how do you address that? And how do you encourage people in the process to actually undertake travel? Over to you.
Yeah. So first of all, thanks to Aditya, Ankur, and Manish. With all the security measures in place, I'm almost tempted to book a airport transfer now, take a flight, and go to the nearest Hilton. And Anuj, I'll be calling you for that.
Mm.
So I think it's quite ironic that over the last 5 years we've been trying to explain the Indian traveler that it's not about a silver, gold, platinum plan that you choose. I think it's much beyond that, right? And what we see globally, the questions which are generally asked by a traveler before choosing a right travel insurance plan is, who's my assistance company? What kind of evacuation service do they provide? Do they do an air evacuation or not? Do they have enough doctors to check on me in case if something goes wrong, and so on and so forth. So that's the real evolved traveler. And I think what we couldn't do in the last 5-7 years, probably this one incident or one event, is going to change that. And then we can see now people are going to be more careful about what they are choosing as a plan, who's their provider that they are choosing, whether they are competent, are they is it their core business to provide assistance and a travel insurance policy. So I think that's all about to change. I don't think people are going to ask that question anymore. Whether is this policy good enough for me to get my visa, right? I think that's, you're going to move on from there, and we are very happy about it. And as an organization, I think we understand that the first part of traveling is going to come from the domestic travel, and we will see some new destinations emerging within India, and we have already introduced certain plans for our airline partners, where which are covering COVID situations, not only from a health point of view, but also from non-refundable cancellations, etc. So it's extremely important. We being part of this industry, and we do our bit by making sure that the customer is feeling confident to go out, make a booking, and God forbid if something goes wrong, they know that they will get their money back, in case of any non-refundables, or if they are in a situation where they need assistance, then there is a partner who's going to provide them that assistance and bring them back home safe. So I think that's from our side in terms of what we're trying to do and trying to encourage a traveler to go out and start making bookings.
Interesting. And I couldn't help but notice here that unless every one of us do our part in encouraging travel, it seems to be quite bleak even as of now. So coming back to Ankur, another thing that would encourage people to travel, and obviously we're in the Indian market, and Indian market has always been known to be cost conscious. Another anxiety that might reside in the minds of probable travelers is that all these additional measures that you put in place for social distancing and obviously sanitization and all that, does it have an impact on their pocket? In terms of pricing, what is your strategy? And I think nobody can answer that better than you, since you are the Chief Commercial Officer for AirAsia. So how is your strategy going to be for the next few months to make sure that you make ends meet, and at the same time you don't end up discouraging people from traveling?
Sure. So, Pukhraj, I think if you look a little back in the history, I don't think so. The Indian aviation market has really been able to extract the kind of pricing that it should have ideally extracted, and hence the reason for a lot of players having a very precarious financial health, even before this crisis hit them. However, I think right now, I think we all have accepted that this year is going to be a washout. I think and it's not just travel industry here, but I think for majority of the industry, people have accepted that it's going to be a washout. I think at this point, the focus is just getting confidence of people to fly again. And so it's not going to be anything that hurts the demand. I don't think companies will be very cautious to kind of breach such kind of a pricing levels. Um, what would of course happen is you would also see initially only the essential traveler taking the travel, so people would try to avoid a bit of a discretionary travel immediately. But that comes down to how soon are we able to get the confidence of people back where they are back to kind of making the discretionary travel. It is also possible that to get some of that confidence back, different players within the, not only in the aviation industry, but across the entire travel chain, value chain, may come out with a lot more attractive offers, deals, etc. in the midterm. In the immediate term, I don't think so. Even giving that offer is going to stimulate demand. In the immediate term, it is going to be only about safety. I think how safe the traveler can feel. And so I think right now it's going to be, if you ask me, the focus is going to be more on safety, and from a financial standpoint, the focus is going to be more on cost containment than so much on the pricing. I think all the industries, not only airlines, but all the other stakeholders within the travel value chain, and even our corporate clients and other enterprises, right? Everywhere, everybody is kind of making sure that there's no stone unturned to figure out ways of reducing cost or optimizing costs. So there's a lot of measures and there's a lot of actions that I think all of us are taking on that front, and that's what the focus is going to be in this year.
Interesting. So from what I could understand from your answer, Ankur, is that the crux of the matter is that domestic travel may not be essentially very expensive as compared to some of the previous months, which is a good sign for travelers, I'm sure.
It is unlikely. In fact, even if you see right now, when for last 5 days, when the operations have opened up, etc., I think fare levels in the market have been very, very reasonable. And there has not at all been any complaints of exorbitant fares pricing in the market. And even future fare levels look very reasonable. So unlikely that domestic travel is going to be very expensive for the travelers.
Yeah. And when you answered me, Ankur, I also picked up a bit about enterprise business. Obviously, these are the guys who love negotiating and who always monitor cost at all point of time. And here I would like to get Anuj's perspective on that. Anuj, in your opening remarks, you said that you've been speaking to customers almost every day and you have a large base of customers. So what is the pulse with the customers at this point of time? What are their worries?
So, like Ankur just said, I think once they have a confidence on that it is safe to travel, they want to travel. There are lots and lots of our customers who are approaching us very regularly, checking when the flights will be operational. Now, since the domestic flights are operational, we are even getting requests or even getting queries for international travel. When will the international flights start? When will flights to some other sectors also start? So, if I look at our base of customers, there are certain industries who have already started traveling quite a lot, or it is not only somebody needs to get back to their home, or it is not only getting back to their hometowns, but their business travel has also started. There are certain industries like pharma, like logistic companies, and a couple of more who were waiting for the skies to open up, and they were just hanging in there. Let's just wait, and once the flights open up, they are traveling. And I think more that we are talking to the customers who have traveled in the last week or so, we are getting confident because the feedback, like what Ankur said, yes, there is a uh, bit of clumsiness when you travel. You have to travel with all that stuff. You have to wear a mask. You have to wear a face shield and all that stuff. Yes, that is a bit of a challenge, but otherwise, the experiences shared by most of the travelers, or rather everyone, has been quite encouraging. They haven't felt that it was very difficult for them to travel, or they haven't felt safe while traveling. So, and that has been the case not only with air, with the ground transportation as well. We have been organizing cars for our customers quite frequently, even outstation cars and all of that, and have been getting some really fantastic feedbacks, which is internally giving our people confidence, which is further populating back to the customers that it is safe for people to travel. I think there are a couple of things which are holding people back. One, obviously, a scare of getting quarantined. In different states, there are different rules coming in and different things floating. I think within another couple of, not even couple of weeks, maybe in a week or so, there would be far more clarity. And once that happens, we would see more people traveling. I'm sure all of us are quite sick and tired of sitting at home. Given the choice, all of us would definitely like to run out of our houses for a short break, if not for a long break. So
Interesting answer, Anuj. And I couldn't help but wonder what Manish said earlier before when we had a pre-webinar chat with him. And it's quite contrary to what a lot of people would believe. And most of the people that we've spoken to and what has come out of all these webinars, and you would all agree on the panel here, that corporate seems to be one segment which is raring to go simply because there is a commercial angle and their business depends on that. But Manish brought in a perspective which was quite different. Manish, what do you think? Leisure before corporate or corporate before leisure for hospitality? How's it going to work?
So I hope both simultaneous, but I don't think that might happen. And like I said, I don't sit with a crystal ball right now. Having said that, I do feel domestic leisure slightly before corporate. Corporate is a need, and we get that, right? There's business to be done and money to be made, and for the last couple of months, that hasn't happened. Having said that, corporates have also learned a new way of working. Now, do they continue doing that till they personally feel that they should, or it's imperative that they travel to conduct business or close things, right? And the images that we see from airline travel right now, I think are very encouraging, to the point that Ankur was making some time back. Visor, mask, the way the team on the flight is dressed right now and looking after people, very, very encouraging. There are loads of videos around hotels that are out right now on things that they're doing for the consumer. So good stuff. But to answer the question in a brief manner, concise manner, like you said, right? People would want to feel in control, and driving, which means from 30 minutes to 4 hours drive to get to a hotel for a staycation because they've been pent up in their houses for a really long time. A lot of them possibly without any support or domestic help and so on and so forth. They want to get out there and be with family, close family, extended family. We can already see that from the calls that we're getting in hotels. We also track consumer behavior or demand trigger change. And the consumers that are entering some of the websites, right, are people who are looking for these kind of objectives of travel at the moment. We don't see as much on business at the moment. Having said that, it could be a trigger change. Changing business needs and business travel could be very, very quick. While you can see that because people in India are consuming data like they've never consumed data before, 5.7 times more than they used to before COVID. They're checking hotels, they're checking experiences, and I do feel domestic leisure, shorter distances before longer distances will come in before domestic business does.
Interesting. So I can see that there is a different perspective that Manish has on the matter. Let's quickly take everybody's binary answer on this. You tell all of you, why don't you tell me whether corporate is going to come first or leisure is going to come first? I'm going to note your answers, and in a couple of months, I'm going to come back to you and tell you whether you got it right or no. So, Ankur, what do you think? Corporate first or leisure?
Is 1-1 not an option?
No. It's a binary answer.
I think we all really hope for it is 1 and 1, and it's not complementary.
But what do you think is going to come first?
No, so I think, I kind of agree with what Manish was saying. If you were to break it, I think immediate 1 month, maybe it's leisure. It's actually not leisure, wrong to say leisure, but it's personal travel, people traveling not so much for leisure, but for some, personal requirements.
Recreational.
But let's say if the lockdown starts opening up, etc., then corporate should start coming back. So one I would put, let's say from July, corporate back.
Corporate back. Interesting. Over to Dev. What do you think is going to come first?
I wish it was, business with pleasure, or the other way around, pleasure with business.
Yeah. But what do you think is going to pick up first?
I think it's going to be leisure.
You think it's going to be leisure? That's interesting. So we have a split house already. What about you, Aditya? What do you think?
I think in terms of just the quantity, right? Just in terms of the quantity of the pending work which is lying in the corporate domain right now, the corporate work which has been pending so much, the meetings, the kind of the travels which were supposed to be required. I think it will be corporate first, which will be coming in, and after that will be leisure.
Interesting. Anuj, what do you think? And I
I
think
think
you would
my views
not
are
be
quite similar.
optimistic.
My views are quite similar to what Ankur has just mentioned. So in the near future, maybe for a month or so, we might see a lot of those staycations of people just going out, staying at somewhere close by. But in slightly longer horizon, even if it is 2 months, I think leisure corporate would be the one which will really start picking.
I'm sure you have a lot of conversations in the back of your mind when you say that. So interesting. I've noted these down and I'm going to accost all you gentlemen in a couple of months to see if you got it right or no. Okay, moving forward. And this one is for all of you, but I would like to have Ankur answer this one first. And we got this from one of our audience, people who registered for this webinar. And the question is, what are the extra precautions? And I know that it does not pertain to business travel, but I think the dynamics are going to change very, very fast here. So what they want to understand is, what are the extra precautions that we need to take while traveling with kids? Is it safe to travel with kids at this point of time? What would you recommend?
So, Pukhraj, it is largely safe to travel with kids. Of course, there is still an advisory from the government where people, very elderly people, and when we say very elderly, usually above the age of 80, and similarly, very, very young children, just because, and the reason is that some of the safety precautions that we as individuals are able to take, people in these two age groups, it's difficult sometimes for them to take such safety precautions. So that's the only reason there is an advisory saying if you're not equipped to follow those safety precautions, then you may want to avoid travel. That's the only thing. Now, to your question in terms of how safe it is, actually, I already kind of, earlier in this discussion talked about various safety precautions that airports and airlines are taking throughout the check-in process and boarding process. Now let's talk about the in-flight piece, right? Now inside the aircraft, actually the air is as clean as what it is in an operation theater. Actually, all the aircraft are fitted with HEPA filters, which clean 99.8% of the particles. The air inside the aircraft is actually cleaned every 3 minutes. So actually the entire air inside the aircraft is recycled 20 times in an hour if you're on an hour-long journey. And thirdly, there is, the way the air circulation is there inside the aircraft, it's what's called as a downwash, which means actually the air, the jet comes out from your overhead cabin, and it actually pushes the particles down, and it gets sucked from at the vents close to the floor. So there's no movement of air sideways, and there is no movement of air forward or backward. So actually what's happening as far as the circulation of the air is concerned is that the clean air is being pushed from the top, from the, where you have the overhead cabins, and then it goes in a kind of in an arch and goes downwards, and then it gets sucked by the vents at the bottom of the aircraft. So the aircraft, for that reason is fairly safe to travel. Don't see any risk. And that has been vetted not only by, not by airlines, but actually the aircraft manufacturers, by regulatory agencies across the globe, as well as by the health experts themselves. And so we don't think that there is any need of concern as far as the safety inside the aircraft is concerned. Having said that, I think all of us as individuals, and it's not about just travel, I think it's, what is now being very commonly called as the new normal. I think even when we are going out or when we are interacting, I mean, we have to exercise all those precautions in terms of avoiding touch, wearing mask, sanitizing our hands as often as possible, trying to avoid, food and beverage from outside. So some of those precautions would be required for initial few weeks till this pandemic subsides.
Interesting, and thanks for answering that, Ankur. I think it reassures a lot of people who are listening to this. Obviously, some people don't have an option but to travel with kids, and that's why this question. Okay, so moving on to the next question, but before we have the next question for one of you, I would like to ask a personal question from all of you and in a few words. Well, I don't think there's been a time in our life that we've been locked in our homes for 2 months at a stretch. And I think we've had a lot of time to introspect, think of some new things that we might probably be able to do. So, is there any new skill, new habit, new hobby that you picked up during the last 2 months or so? Well, I'll tell you what, I didn't pick up a hobby, but I was given a chore of cleaning the entire house. So, what about all of you? Why don't you start, Manish?
Unfortunately, I should have really leveraged this time better. I did not, because of the importance of webinars. We thought, in our lives, we wanted to feel like we're constantly doing something. But the one thing I started doing differently was I never used to run. I'm a treadmill sort of a runner. I never liked it, right? And today, because there was no option, gyms were shut and everything was done, I realized that it's far better to run outside. You start appreciating things better. And I think that me time that you get to think over things is just far superior because you're not engaging with anybody on your sides, right? You're in your zone, you're doing your running. So that's what I picked up. I thought, and I think these are one of those post-COVID effects as well. It'll be with me even in the post-COVID era.
Interesting. Over to you, Dave. I know that you picked up cooking. Anything else besides the cooking bit? Because we can't sample that, so I'm going to ask you more.
In terms of skills that we have learned at home, I think most of them been out of no choice, right? But at the end of it, they've been quite good. It definitely takes your mind off work, and it's been great. So we've been doing some cooking, my son and myself. We know now every brand that our wives use for whether it's cooking or bartan or whether it's bathroom or whatever. So I think the knowledge overall has improved. The wives are very happy. I think we've learned, like Manish said, new ways to keep ourselves fit. Previously, there was like a routine of, go to the gym or go somewhere else. But now I think we've been innovative in terms of how we keep ourselves fit. Professionally, I think it's been a great time to mostly unlearn, right, what we've done in the last 20 years. So it's a great opportunity for us to go back, revisit, and what we're doing, whether it's the way that we manage a customer or the way that we managed ourselves internally. So I think lots of learnings, and it's been an eye opener, I guess.
Interesting. You talk about a transformational approach to the lockdown, which is quite interesting to me. Okay, moving on to Aditya. Aditya, have you picked up something new during the last couple of months?
Yeah, I've been picking up all the garbage in the house. So that is something I've picked up new. But jokes apart, this time has really given me an opportunity to spend a lot of my time with my family members. I've been earlier I used to be traveling around 16, 17 days a month. So of course now, because I've been here and in the house, it's really given me a lot of time to spend with my kids, 9 and 5, great age to be at. They really don't scream back at you. And I've been able to play some sports with them, like table tennis, etc. So, it's given me some me time with my kids and also with my wife. We've really hardly spent any time in the last, because of my travel. So now we've been able to spend that time as well with my entire family. So it's great.
Interesting, Aditya. Well, a lot of us have been picking up the garbage, so that doesn't qualify, does it? Okay, moving on to Anuj. Anuj, what have you picked up during the last couple of months?
So I think my chopping skills have improved quite significantly.
If your
My
fingers are
chopping
intact, you can show everyone.
yeah, with my
intact.
fingers being intact. So I can't cook. I can't contribute much in the other stuff, but I think my chopping skills have improved in the last 2 months. It's like your typing skills. Initially, you are searching for the words over your keyboard, and then how the flow goes. So I think slightly improved. That's one of the things. Other than that, I mean, we never use technology or these platforms to be connected with the team so often. And in these last 2 months, I think we are almost spending an equal amount of time what we used to spend in offices, but over these platforms. So this is quite great.
Interesting. I think chopping skills is certainly something that would interest Manish, who spent a lot of time in hotel operations. So Manish, if you're listening, Anuj has got excellent chopping skills.
It's in my
Okay,
resume.
moving on, moving on to Ankur. Ankur, what have you picked up over the last couple of months?
I,
What has been your eureka moment?
I think work from home has forced, just like you, Pukhraj, a lot of work for home on me. So I think again doing a lot of lot of household chores, particularly those which do not really require fine skills. I think I'm not allowed to cook. If I try my hand, then I think the whole family would end up starving on that night.
Same pinch.
So so I'm not allowed on that. I think besides that, two things. One is able to at least spend more time with family. I think even if you're on calls whole day, at least you are able to just watch your kids move around. So I'm able to see my 6-year-old daughter just move around the whole house, what she's up to whole day, etc., which you typically would miss because you leave house very early in the morning and you'll get back very late. So at least now you're just seeing her grow. And I think similarly, the other piece, particularly on the professional side, has been that it's strange that you are able to actually connect more, or you are able to connect with a wider set of your team members and more often than what you were able to do earlier. So now, you are able to do more frequently these calls where you are able to get even as many as 50, 60 members on the call. You're able to generally catch up with them, what's happening, what's going on. In some way, actually, you are more in touch with the pulse of the market, pulse of the organization in some way now, because you're able to just quickly connect with a much wider set of your employees who are throughout the country and get a feel of what's going on. So I think it's a good learning. I'm hoping that we are able to practice and continue this even when we are free to move around after this lockdown.
Thanks, Ankur. That was interesting. And thank you all for candidly sharing what you picked up during the last couple of months. I think we are nearing the end of this webinar. And what I want to ask all of you, that I think this is something which would give a lot of food of thought to our audience when they watch this webinar, is that they say that with every dark cloud comes a silver lining. Many of us are straining our eyes hard to see that silver lining, and it hasn't emerged for them till now. But what about all of you? What do you think at this point of time is an area of opportunity that has created itself? What kind of pragmatic solutions do you think will find place in the new world, as we like to call it, post-COVID? I would like to put this question to Dave. Why don't you start?
I think I'm particularly very fond of the bear markets, because in the last 20 years, in my experience, every time when we've had an incident like this, whether it's a 9/11 or whether any other incident, we've always emerged stronger out of that incident, because we've got the time to actually think what we want to do. We've got the time to think what we don't want to do, right? And this is the best time to for all of us in the industry to show our solidarity, to be resilient, and emerge stronger out of this situation. And I keep telling everybody, these days, it's really not in our hands, when we will come back, right? But it's certainly in our hands how we make a comeback, right? I think that's completely in our hands. So my team and I are doing everything possible to make sure that we get more agile, define our own processes, and see how we can try and do something better. Once the opportunity starts all over again. So, I think I have, a big shout out to all our partners that, we are doing everything that we can. And, as Travel Tech Covermore, we have you covered.
Excellent. Thank you, Dev, for that. Over to you, Ankur. What do you think is the silver lining in these dark clouds?
Actually, Pukhraj, I mean, we've had this very strong and often repeated motto internally in our organization, saying, "Look, never let a good crisis go waste." And we have been trying to kind of And it has forced us to relook at a lot of things very fundamentally. And I won't go into a lot of details, but be it in terms of our operating cost, be it in terms of even things like how you'll do the scheduling of your aircraft, network planning, etc., product, customer experience. But overall, at a larger level, what I think would happen is the aviation ecosystem would be far more efficient, in my view. I mean, it has been saddled with very high cost structure in general, if you see. And this crisis is forcing almost all players to relook at the cost. And it's not just airlines, your ground handling agencies, your airports, etc. Even things like, for example, traditionally, if you see, the percentage of passengers who would do self check-in, web check-in, and do a self backdrop is a very small fraction. And airlines have tried it for many years, trying to coax customers to do, web check-in and do a self backdrop. I think this crisis, in some way, has forced airports to provide a much better user experience in terms of the technology and in terms of the user interface, and has also forced customers to kind of now realize the benefit of doing it themselves. And what I mean by that is, if you look at a lot of our airports and the infrastructure at airports, it was hugely constrained because of the massive traffic growth that India saw over the last few years, right? And one of the ways to de-bottleneck that was to increase the efficiency, the processing capacity of the airports. And with now passengers now being able to do self-service themselves in terms of web check-in, in terms of backdrop, etc., I think the throughput will increase, and we'll be able to serve many more passengers using the same infrastructure that we were doing earlier. And I think this will also hopefully percolate down to even other parts. There have been certain taxation, there have been certain levies, etc., which the aviation industry has been saddled with. And we are hoping that, government and other regulatory agencies will have a relook at some of those aspects as well, such that the overall cost for the industry comes down. So I'm hoping that that should be our silver lining in this dark cloud.
Interesting phrase that you mentioned there, Ankur, never waste a crisis, which just means that with adversity comes opportunity, and we should all be ready to pounce on it once that presents itself. Thank you for that. Over to you, Manish. What is your silver lining?
I think the silver lining is already here. The opportunity to hit the reboot button, clearly, doesn't present itself as often. It has actually presented to all of our industries once a decade at least. And the reality is that I think first things first, accept the fact that the normal is going to be a journey. It won't be a switch button. That's first things first. We are investing time in creating and building a team that is sort of future ready, multitaskable and agile. It hasn't been easy. And a lot of people are using this term right sizing. I'm going to say smart sizing. This opportunity does not mean that you start cost controlling by cutting staff. It is about, do you have the right players in your team for the immediate future and the long-term future? That's first things first. As far as we are concerned, we're trying to put business opportunities that we haven't seen before or shrugged off back into the consideration pot. It's been great learning for all of us, right? Telling people, get off that horse, remove the chip, and let's start talking about things that we could do differently in terms of business opportunities. Transparency and effective communication with all stakeholders. And I'm talking about our own team members, our consumers, and our owners. We are a management organization. So, we manage hotels that are owned by others. We are doing a brilliant job, and we can get far better. We're communicating more than we ever have. And that's critically important, because all of this is getting us to a place where our loyal customers pre-COVID time are even more loyal, and we can see the index, the trust index sort of further go up. And we're onboarding, hopefully we'll be able to onboard some new customer loyalty when we come out of it. So as far as I'm concerned, as tough as it is, in this game-changing time, I feel the choice of being on top or bottom of the wave when we come out of it belongs to us.
Interesting. That was quite passionately expressed. Over to Anuj. Anuj, you typically depend on partners to create pragmatic solutions that you can take to customers and obviously add your own bit in the process. But in the value chain, where do you think TMCs are going to add value? Have you been able to think of some pragmatic solutions that you've been able to put together for customers already, or what is your path for this to happen?
So I think, Pukraj, the role of TMCs will further increase after whatever has happened. That's definitely one of the silver lining that I feel. People who have been booking online, or the customers, small size customers who were happy to book it online and from various other means and ways, uh, they would, uh, I feel and I believe that they would start realize to see the value that a TMC brings in. Uh, the kind of uh, the kind of pain that they take away, or the friction that they take away from the entire process at the customer end, uh, how valuable it is to a customer. And my feel is that uh, the relevance of TMCs will further going to increase only. It is there to stay. And like what Ankur and Manish said in terms of this COVID situation giving us an opportunity to hit reset buttons, I think yes, that's once in a lifetime opportunity. I don't think, and I don't wish we get that opportunity again. But yeah, it really gives us time to rethink, reset a lot of things for a faster comeback.
Interesting perspective, Anuj, and I do hope that your customers benefit from this approach. Moving on to Aditya for his comments. Aditya, what do you think as an area of opportunity that has suddenly presented itself out of the blue in this situation for you?
Yeah, I think the key today to be able to select your service partner is trust. So our industry, ground transport, is largely unorganized sector still. A lot of mom and pop shops still running, a lot of small fleet owners still still running in the market, which constitute the entire ground transport industry, right? And then there are the app based aggregators which are running out there, in large numbers. So what the customer really would be, I think, looking for is somebody who they can trust, somebody who's able to walk the talk, somebody who's actually able to implement hygiene standards, take care of their health, take care of their passengers' health, as well as their own employees' health and their own chauffeurs' health. Invest and reinvest and make sure that the supervision is 100% leak free, so that there are no leakages and they are able to maintain the safety standards for their ground transportation. So I feel, as a silver lining, I feel that customers, like you had earlier also pointed out, would be willing to uh, pay a premium, or even not about payment, but it's about secure a service provider who's able to give them that level of trust that they are in the safe hands while their employees or their family members are traveling on the road. So I feel there is a silver lining for in that sense. And apart from that, I see that the air is really cleaned up, and it's fresh air for everybody. So we actually get to see that how nature can heal itself if we are able to respect it and let it heal. The rivers are cleaner, the air is cleaner. So I look that that has a silver lining of this lockdown.
Interesting, and I totally agree with you. Everything has a flip side. So when something goes downhill, there is another thing which is improving at the same time, and that's an interesting observation, Aditya. So, any last comments from all of you? If I had to sum up your thoughts in two sentences, how would you sum up your feelings in two sentences? For all of us, what do we expect for the next few months as life becomes slightly more normal, hopefully, after this COVID situation eases up quite a bit? Who would like to start? Let me have Ankur start this off.
Raj, all I'll say in my closing comments is I think, as a species, human beings, we have been very resilient. We have come out of a lot of crisis. Yes, this is almost, at least it's an truly unprecedented. Now, while this word has been used very loosely in the past, but I think this crisis has truly been unprecedented in all our lifetimes. But what I can say is that I think, given the sheer resilience of human beings, and resilience also of of India as a nation, as an economy, I'm hopeful. I'm very encouraged. We are already beginning to see some signs of us now uh, getting adjusted to the new normal, but then figuring our way out how to survive and thrive in this new normal. So I stay positive, and I think I'm hopeful that if we were to do this a few months down the line, we'll all be far more cheerful than what we are right now.
I mean, I hope that it does turn out this way for all of us, Ankur. Thank you. Manish, over to you.
So, Pukhraj, I'm a cautious optimist, and I continue to stay that way. The reason I say this also is that I think people on the panel and everyone else who belongs to our industry, even outside, I think we have a responsibility of nudging into normalcy, because normalcy is not going to arrive, is the feeling that I have, right? Even right now, we're reporting 6,500 cases average a day. I don't see as a country, given our population, that's going to come down as a graph measure very quickly. One of the reasons I'm sitting in the office right now, when we opened our offices also, was somehow start pushing the cases a little bit, right? Get out there and start conducting business, start meeting partners, so that we start feeling there's a sense of normalcy with caution, which is exactly what we need. As closing statements, I feel we have a responsibility of making sure consumers who are in bed with us feel safe, are reassured, and are looked after. At the same time, we start pushing the envelope as far as the sentiment of normalcy is concerned, as much normalcy as possible.
Thank you for that, Manish. Again, I hope that your wish comes true and all of us are in the same boat as far as that is concerned. Over to you, Aditya. What do you think your last closing comments would be?
Yeah, my closing comments would be that let's care for our customers and all our stakeholders, our partners, our service providers, our supply chain, because they are extremely important, and not just for our future, but also it's extremely important to actually value what they have done for you in the past, and to continue to care for them, to make sure that they are also able to survive the storm, because they are also in the storm together with us. And it's important for us to stay together as a community, as an industry, to be able to get out of this crisis together. My request, if there would be any viewers who would be from the government, would be to please support the tourism industry. We are in a bad situation because of the highest impact that we have absorbed out of this pandemic. We really need all the support that you could spare for our tourism industry, all the stakeholders of our tourism industry. It's a huge employment generator, and a huge revenue earner for the government. So that is what I want to say, and I want to just say that definitely the human spirit has always been very, very strong, and we will come out of this. Let's come out as better human beings, and let's come out as more caring human beings, and just more grateful human beings. That's all.
Thank you. That's a great message, Aditya. And I'm sure a lot of us are thinking on the same lines. Perfect. Okay, so moving on to Dev. Would you have any closing comments for us, Dev?
Yeah, so I think I would agree with most panelists here that this is the time for us to show solidarity within the industry. And if you ask me, I'm personally very, very optimistic. Like I mentioned before, there is a pause, but post this pause, I think we will see people will start traveling. A lot of people come and discuss and talk, saying people have now got used to webinar, or people have got used to Zoom calls, etc. So do you think people are going to stop traveling? I said no. We're all humans at the end of the day, right? We will do this to start with. People will take baby steps, but eventually it'll start going to full-fledged travel, right? And that's how it's happened all the times when such events have happened in the past 20, 30, 50 years. So I'm very, very optimistic that people will start traveling, and I think this is the time for us to collaborate, innovate, and stay in the game and prepare for the future.
Thanks, Dev, for that. I completely agree with you there. Anuj, over to you for your closing comments.
Yeah, so just like Dave, I'm also very optimistic. I feel that the worst is over. It's going to improve from here on. Though we are seeing, like what Manish said, we are seeing the number of cases going up and all of that happening. But as humans, we are a very flexible creature. We adjust ourselves in the situation quite quickly. So we have adjusted ourselves, staying back at home for last 2 months. But as humans, we have to go out. We can't sit at home. We have to travel. We have to meet people. We have to meet our families outside, our extended families. We need to meet our friends. We can't be locked down. The moment travel starts reviving, we would see substantial movements happening on that side. So I truly feel the worst is over. We have seen 2 months of complete lockdown. We are seeing some business revival now, and let's just hope that it keeps on improving from here on.
Thank you, Anuj. Your optimism is truly infectious. When infectious is not a very good word at this point of time, but still. Okay, thank you very much, everyone, for your insights and sharing your views on this webinar. To sum it all, I will try to put everything together as takeaways from this webinar. I think most of us are optimistic. I could sense optimism for things to come. It looks like things are going to improve from here onwards. There are many new processes that all the industries have put in place to make sure that customers are safe, they get a hassle-free experience. So that is much appreciated. There is a split on corporate and leisure. So we have to wait for a couple of months for us to truly understand who got it right and who's not. Traveling with kids or with anyone is safe as long as you're mindful. It is not recommended that you travel with old people who have pre-existing medical conditions simply because it increases their chances of getting infected. You could use this time to unlearn your old ways and learn new ways on a personal front as well as on a professional front. Do business in a different way, find out more pragmatic solutions which would be more suitable for the current situation. New opportunities are going to present themselves because like my dear friend Ankur said, you should never waste a crisis. And there is always opportunity that presents itself in adversity. So watch out for it, harness it if you can. TMCs might become more pertinent as per Anuj because they are the ones who stitch everything together, and people might look to somebody who can consolidate the entire piece for them in a way. Have a holistic view, look at some of the positives that have come out of the situation. So with that, I would like to conclude this webinar. But before we do that, I would like to apologize to everyone who was watching this video that we could not go live on YouTube because of a technical glitch. I do hope, however, that we were able to resolve some of your burning questions. And if you have more questions that need answering, I would request you to write to us at ask@in.fcm.travel. We will also post that on social media for you to understand that. It's very simple. It's ask@in.fcm.travel. We will try and answer your questions either through email or through social media or through another webinar. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you very much, Ankur. Thank you, Manish, Dev, Aditya, and Anuj for joining us for this webinar. I'm certain that your optimism is soon going to go viral. Again, viral is not a good word, but I think that's in vogue nowadays. With that, I would like to conclude this webinar. Thank you for being here, sparing your time, and sharing your insights with everyone who's watching this.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Pukhraj.
Pukhraj.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thanks.
That was an excellent moderation. Thank you very much. Thank you all. All the best.